Hello and welcome to my next chess video. This time I show you the match between Monarch 1.7, the Sovereign, and Deep Fritz 14, Fritz. And I let them play the dragon variation of the Sicilian defense. To be exact, this variation, or this kind of opening position of the Sicilian dragon. And this arises after the moves e4, c5, so the Sicilian, open Sicilian, knight f6, knight c3, defending the pawn, and now g6, the dragon Sicilian, bishop e3, and this is the opening position I gave them. And now let's see what Fritz comes up with in this position. Let's see both evaluations. For starters, Fritz thinks it's slightly better for white, but only a slight advantage. And Fritz is calculating knight takes d4, probably then bishop takes d4 and bishop e6, followed by g4 maybe, and now d4. At least I would try something like d4, but I don't know. Bishop takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, pawn takes looks risky, but you kind of keep your pawn right there. If you take with the queen, then you lose this pawn. Well, I don't know if you lose it. Bishop here, pawn here, maybe threatening some check. I don't know, you get rid of your super dark square bishop. Probably not d5. Probably something like rook c8 now. I would try. Then maybe some hack attack with h4. Just trying to get in. Queen here. g4. Knight there. Bishop takes. King takes, queen here check, followed by h4. This seems pretty straightforward. Well, here you can probably exchange queens, maybe h5 first, but then you constantly have to worry about things like rook takes here, knight coming into e5 or something. I don't know, it's not that easy. Let's see what Deep Fritz 14 really plays, and how to play the Dragon Sicilian, because I want to try the Dragon Sicilian later in my games as well. So let's see. This is the position right now on the board. Knight takes d4 on depth 23. Fritz used 4 minutes and 2 seconds on this move, or 8 seconds or something like this. So Fritz is taking a long think here. Knight takes, probably bishop takes, and now e5, maybe to kick the bishop back. But now you have a weak pawn right here, so you probably defend it with the knight and go maybe f5. I don't know, e5 seems not the right move here. Bishop e6. Let's go with g4 now. You don't want to play g5 as white, because the knight can really block very good here. On h4, maybe even coming in here. Let's see the Sovereigns. Sovereign also thinks it's only slightly better for white, so let's see what the Sovereign comes up with. He also wants to play bishop takes d4. So we'll probably see bishop takes d4 now on the board. Let's see how long the sovereign takes for its move. You have bishop takes, and now Fritz calculates the move a6 or bishop e6. Let's see what he comes up with. I have no idea how to play this with black, that's why I'm looking at this position here, because g4 just... it seems as though that white is just faster. Let's see. a3, g4, b4. You don't want to do this, because I don't know, the knight seems pretty good defender here. Maybe f4, h4, f5 coming, bishop here to e2. We'll see, but this is also quite fast. Knight here. Now queen there attacking this pawn. So probably something like this as a continuation. Yeah, well, but then this pawn is hanging with the knight, so probably not queen a5. Probably that move. We have the move a6. a6 with the plan of b5. The sovereign is calculating bishop e2 now. Also a nice move, just continuing development. Yeah, very interesting position here on the board. It reminds me of the name Dragadorf. Something between a dragon Sicilian and a knight of Sicilian. Dragadorf. Stupid name, but I had this before. Bishop e2, bishop e6, king b1, bishop e6 is what Deep Fritz is calculating. So pretty much whatever white plays, bishop e6 is the next move from white, just to insert some pressure on this diagonal. You don't really want to play e5 because this would block in your bishop, and this bishop wants to be open on this long diagonal. That's the reason why you play the dragon Sicilian in the at first. So yeah, let's see, bishop e2, bishop e6, g4. This is what the sovereign thinks, and it plays bishop e2. Now bishop e6, most probably in g4. Maybe trying to go e5. Maybe trying to go g5, kick away this knight and exchange it and exchange bishops. But now maybe b5, g5, knight here, bishop takes, king takes, queen here, check. I don't know about the knight blocks. f4, okay, queen here, check seems to work. So king goes back, but the knight has a beautiful square right here. Queen is coming to a5 and one rook is coming to the c file. And b5 is probably an option. Also, you can go for the queen exchange via queen b6 here. So very interesting position. Let's follow this through. Let's say h4. Rook here. h5. Threatening h6. So, well, is h6 a threat? You just block with a knight, f4, sacking the rook. So let's say you go, no, this just loses a pawn. Let's say you go queen here. Then this move threatens checkmate, so knight here. f4, you cannot move the knight because of checkmate. You can probably maybe sacrifice the rook there, followed by queen takes here, followed by check and knight here. So let's say taking. I don't know, it just seems that black is faster in all those variations, white is faster in all those variations. But we will see what Fritz will come up with. This is just a sample line where white is winning. Bishop e6 is its calculation with depth 22, so it's not bugging right now. Deep Fritz 14 is not bugging right now. And let's see what it comes up with. 2 minutes 40 for this move. It's a lot. But okay, it will get time back in 5 moves. So let's see. Bishop e6 probably. Now h4. f6 you can also always play. So let's go with this line. h5. Queen here. Pawn here, not knight here. Let's go with f6. Because the bishop is controlling this diagonal. So there is no check. Also the b5 square is covered. You can maybe jump in with the knight, threatening a check right here. So let's say the rook blocks. Yeah, now this pawn is threatened. So king b1 maybe. I don't know, the rook, I don't like rook blocks that much. Bishop takes, queen takes check, king here. I also don't like this variation, so it seems as though that white is also better there. So I quite like white's position. Here we have bishop e6. And now the sovereign is calculating g4 immediately. Fritz thinks king b1 is a better move. And now knight d5 is calculated by the sovereign. Let's see, knight d5. Okay, if you take it, takes, bishop takes here, now the rook is attacked and the bishop is attacked. So that's tactically working. If you do bishop takes and pawn takes, and now knight takes doesn't work because of bishop takes g7. Now it changes its mind again to g4. But let's go with this. This looks interesting. Let's see, queen here. Now g4. Rook there. g5. Knight here. Bishop takes. King takes. Queen here check. I don't know. The queen has to go back and defend against the mate. So this seems not so bad for black. So that's why the sovereign probably changed its mind and wants to go g4 here, which would guarantee an interesting game. Here g4, and let's see what Fritz comes up with after g4. Queen a5 immediately. No, not bishop back. Queen a5. But what about... Oh yeah, knight here, and then you have queen takes, because there is no in-between check. So king b1 now to threaten knight here, because then queen takes would fail due to knight check here, and white would be up a pawn. So king b1, what now? Rook here to defend the pawn. Knight here anyway, I don't know, then queen takes, rook takes, and black gets out of trouble. But Fritz is calculating something else. King b1, rook c8 is what Fritz calculates, and the line goes with a3 then. But let's see what happens if this comes. I don't see it. There is a threat. Queen back maybe. Defend against the threat, but then you can exchange everything and play h4. Should be good for white. Let's see, we have king a5. a3 is what the sovereign wants to play immediately. a3. Let's see, knight here. Is there a sacrifice of the queen? Because I don't see it. What is the sovereign thinking here? What is... So if you take here, then there is this in-between check. I don't see it. This is what I want to ask Fritz later. Why is knight d5 not good in this position? So I'm sure they don't miss tactics, those engines. Knight d5. What's the problem with knight d5? Probably something like queen here. And if this check comes, then the king just goes back. And now this pawn is threatened. And there is also maybe a threat here, but what about that one? Attacking the queen. I don't know. Maybe even taking the rook. I don't see it. What's the problem? What's the problem? Maybe queen here. Knight check. King there. Knight takes rook. Knight takes here, attacking the queen. Yeah, but you just take the knight, right? Don't see it. Maybe an exchange sacrifice. To have some ideas, but we have to move a3 here instead of all this. Instead of king b1, we have to move a3 by the sovereign. Let's again see both evaluations. Deep Fritz 14 zeros everything, and the sovereign thinks it's still slightly better for white. But let's see. Very interesting game here. Probably my chess understanding is not that good because, yeah, well, I'm something around 1700 or something between 15 and 1700 rated. So 1600, something like this, at least on chess.com. But okay, let's see what Deep Fritz comes up with now. Has 3 minutes 43 left. b5 is what he is calculating. b5. And he is playing b5. Now the move g5 is calculated by the sovereign. Knight here, maybe. Bishop takes. King takes. Knight coming in here. Rook coming into the c file. Maybe some threats of this check. Forking king and queen later on. And if pawn takes, then maybe c5 to check. I don't know, but everything seems to be defended. Well, check. Check. King takes, queen here, check. Or rook takes. I don't know, let's follow this through. Let's say h4. Rook coming in here. h5. Knight coming in there. Queen here, check. f6 blocking. Takes, takes. Takes, check. Takes, takes, check. King here. Check. It doesn't seem to work though. Queen here would be checkmate if the queen would be defended right there, but she isn't. So g5. Maybe rook takes then to not lose the d-pawn at least. But then the rook is pinned. You can also check here the king. Then maybe king is in there, or king there. Let's say it goes there. So that if the rook moves, then the king has some escape routes. Let's continue. Pushing pawns, f4. b4. Attacking the knight. Let's see, the knight moves here. Attacks the rook. Taking there. No, not taking there. And there is a check right here. Which, because the pawn is pinned to the king. And this would win the queen. So, I don't know. But we don't have knight to d7. We have the safer move knight here. But now maybe f4. Knight d5 is what the sovereign calculates. But then queen takes queen, rook takes queen. Because this comes with check. I don't know. Going for this endgame. It's not favorable for white. So Fritz survived this. Knight d5 is what both engines think is now a good move. It's again, see both evaluation. Fritz is now on it's slightly better for black, and the sovereign thinks it's much better for white after knight d5. So let's see who's right there. I somehow believe in Deep Fritz. It has no bugs right now, so Fritz should win this. Most probably. Okay, knight d5, queen takes, rook takes, let's say, and then the knight comes in here, attacks the bishop. Let's say bishop takes, king takes. This is a beautiful. Oh, no, you cannot go there. Let's see, bishop takes knight first, pawn takes bishop, or maybe even this first. Takes. Rook takes. I don't believe in rook takes, because knight f5 is coming anyway, and this knight is very good, and you can never get rid of it because you have the wrong colored bishop. So this endgame should favor black, I think. Just because of this knight, and yeah, well, white has a backward f-pawn, and yeah, should be good for white. Queen takes d2, rook takes d2, bishop takes d5, exchanging everything. Yeah, bishop takes d5 just to entrench a knight on this beautiful square. This endgame should be better for... Here the rook has to go back to keep protecting the bishop. And... yeah, it should be slightly better for black, this endgame. Let's again see both evaluations. Fritz is on minus 0.60 now, and the Sovereign is on plus 0.76. But I believe in Deep Fritz, because when I see this endgame, it should really favor black. Maybe some rook coming to the c-file. Probably this one. Yeah, bishop takes, of course. So let's go with the Monarch's line. Bishop takes g7. Also what I kind of thought. And then king takes g7, and then e takes d5. And knight here, which would attack the bishop. But you don't really... Okay, yeah, right now you cannot go here with the rook, because this will come with check. So you probably have to go there with the rook if you want to go rook d4, but then maybe this one. No. Well, this one would lead to a terrible disaster. Maybe even here. Let's see, rook here, and now knight there. Going into f5 if the rook comes in here. Or maybe even to here. But then the bishop can exchange itself for the knight. So you kind of want to keep the knight here on f5. At least I would want to keep the knight here. Okay, king here also might be possible. Following up with rook here, rook there, d5, he takes d, knight takes, rook is now under attack, and the pawn is under attack, so you should go there probably. Then f5, pawn takes, rook takes, and this pawn is under pressure, and knight f5 is coming again, and this time you cannot get rid of it anymore. Also h5 is coming to kick the rook, maybe trying to clear the fourth rank, so that the knight can really stay here forever. Or maybe even rook there to exchange it and place the knight over there. Rook to the e-file. Looks good for black now. Okay. Bishop takes g7 we have. King takes g7 most probably. And then e takes d5 and knight to f5 or f6 even. f6. If pawn takes, then I would take with the rook. And now white's pawns are isolated here, those two, and black has no isolated pawns. But okay, black has 3 pawn islands, white has 3 pawn islands, but black's pawn structure is better. So let's see, king takes, e takes, and now knight f4. rook to e1, h1 to e1 is what the Sovereign calculates. Let's again see both evaluations. Minus 0.64 by Deep Fritz 14 and plus 0.62 by the Sovereign. So both engines are happy with their positions. Now e takes d5 is forced. Let's go with that position. It just looks better for black, sorry, but for real now, this knight is just better than this bishop. But okay. We have bishop takes d5, bishop takes g7, king takes, and now e takes. Yeah, this knight is just better than this bishop, I would say. Let's see how Fritz continues. G take, f6, g takes, rook takes, yeah, and now rook d4. This is what Fritz thinks is good for the line. And the Sovereign thinks knight f4, bishop d1, f6, g takes f6, and e takes f6. Let's see, I prefer Deep Fritz variation. And now both have reached time control. At least my time control, but I always give them some weird time control with 17 minutes, and well, I'll show you. This here is the time control. So for the first 17 moves they have 17 minutes plus 3 seconds increment. Then they have for the next 11 moves 11 minutes plus 1 second increment, and for the rest of the game they have 5 minutes and 2 seconds. So yeah, let's go back here. So this is the time format I always give them. And now it's Fritz's move. And it is calculating f6 followed by g takes f6 followed by rook takes f6, rook d4, rook f4, rook e4, and rook a8 to a7 to defend the e-pawn. So this is Fritz's line. Let's see what the Monarch plays against f6. Let's see the endgame skills of Deep Fritz 14. They should be great because it's a good engine. Here we have the move f6. G takes f6 most probably, followed by rook takes f6. Well, again, I want to see both evaluations. Minus 0.68 and 0.64 by the Sovereign. So Yeah, still nobody is winning there, but it should be better for black. At least I would think so. Here we have pawn takes and now rook takes, followed by bishop to d1. This is what the Monarch calculates. This is what Fritz calculates. And bishop to d1 is what the sovereign calculates. Let's see. Rook here, maybe to insert some pressure there. Followed up with knight here to maybe get this pawn. Rook here, also an idea to insert more pressure on this file here, on the f file. But this bishop is nicely covering the f pawn. And after rook here, maybe this one. After knight here, maybe that one. So now the pawn is covered. The second rank is covered by the rook. And now maybe rook d1 is coming to pressurize this pawn. So also Monarch's defensive ideas are kind of great. What should Fritz play there? Maybe even knight here is better, so that this doesn't work because of that. And you cannot defend this pawn anymore. Or that pawn. You lose one of those pawns. Rook here. Just rook there. Or rook e8. Let's see. You also cannot really attack the rook because then it's just taking there or there. It can decide. So yeah, one pawn drops. So how to keep both pawns? Knight f6 is threatened. Yeah, maybe you have to go back then with the bishop to meet knight here with rook there, and now everything is kind of defended, but it doesn't look healthy for white. This pawn is weak. No, you cannot. Sorry about that. Pressed the wrong button. This pawn is weak, that pawn is weak, that pawn is weak. You can never really go b5 because this would just run into pawn takes b. You can never really go c4 because this would run into b5 takes c4, bishop takes c4, and rook takes f6. Maybe after all of that the rook can swing in here, attacking this pawn. And now you again lose a pawn because either this pawn or that pawn will fall. It's kind of difficult to defend all that. Okay, we have a move here by the sovereign. We have the move rook to e1. X-raying the pawn on e7. This would fall with check. Rook h1 to e1 is what the sovereign thinks. And yeah, this looks passive compared to that one, what Fritz thinks, because this would defend the pawn, and you can also swing it to the c-file and insert some pressure along the c-file. So probably rook a8 to a7 now. Let's see. Yeah, nothing really changed. Sovereign kind of is not that happy with its position anymore. So rook a7 probably. And still ideas like rook here followed by knight to f6, followed by rook to h5, in the air, attacking this pawn and attacking that pawn. Very difficult to defend this for white. Let's see. Probably after this, b3 is what Sovereign thinks, but then rook c2, but I don't know. Rook here, and king is in there, going out of the pin. Now knight here, going an offensive square. Going rook here next to attack this pawn. Maybe something like this. Bishop d1 is now what the Sovereign thinks. Let's see, it has 11 minutes and 50 seconds versus 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Now it changes its mind to b3. Also Fritz thinks b3 is the move, or rook d4. Let's see. Now Monarch 1.7 also thinks rook d4 is the move there. What's the idea between rook d4? Rook d4. e5, pawn takes, rook takes. This would be a nasty pin, but you can maybe get out of it via that one. Then rook takes, pawn here, bishop anywhere, I don't know, probably here, but then it doesn't matter if it goes there or there, this move will come anyway, but then you maybe get past pawn. This would attack the bishop. Kind of interesting still. Okay, rook d4 is good move by the Monarch. Now rook f4. Trying to exchange rooks here. If rook takes, then knight takes, and this pawn is again under threat. And you cannot go here to defend it because then the bishop hangs. So this would lose a pawn, so you cannot really accept this. c3 looks bad and looks wrong. Bishop here doesn't work to d1 because the rook is hanging. So rook here most probably. Just to defend the rook, double on the d-file. Rook ed1. Yeah, very interesting game. Very interesting game, I have to say. Very interesting endgame here. Rook ed1 followed by g5. Yeah, g5 is a good move. It keeps this pawn on this square. So it keeps a weak pawn. It goes on a dark square, so this bishop cannot attack it. The rook can also not really attack it. And if ever rook takes, knight takes, then rook here doesn't do anything because the knight is defended. So yeah, and you have to do something with that bishop. Probably bishop here. But this all looks not that great here after g5. g5 is a good move, I think, from Fritz. Very good endgame technique here. g5. I haven't seen that move. I haven't foreseen that move, I wanted to say. But it seems to be a good move. g5 followed by b3 is what Deep Fritz thinks. It is on minus 0.61. So still not winning, but black is definitely better here. After g5, taking here looks wrong. The king can maybe march forward to this square. But then rook here check, followed by rook takes, pawn takes, and now these pawns are connected. No. Then the king takes the pawn. So let's go with b3, king here, c4 maybe the idea. Just ignore this. King here, attacking the rook now. And activating the king. If rook here, then you just take a pawn. Thank you very much. I don't know, it's not that easy, because pawn takes, the knight is hanging, but you can attack the bishop. If the bishop goes here, you can take it with check and take this pawn. But it's still not that clear, because rook here will counterattack this pawn. And if you try and defend laterally, then this will come with en passant. And then black would get a passer. Yeah, black would probably lose this pass pawn. So it's probably better. Oh, we have a move here. We don't have b3, we have the move a4. After... Oh, we don't have g5, we have rook here. And now a4. Let's again see both evaluations. Yeah, h takes a4. Rook cannot take this pawn because this rook is defending it. So what's the idea? Oh, bishop takes a6 is the idea. Okay. And what about rook here? Then bishop there. Rook here maybe. Rook takes, and rook here. Defends that pawn, defends that pawn, and defends that pawn. So all of those pawns are defended. But black is up a pawn, right? 4 versus 5, so... Okay, we don't have this, we have takes. Rook takes, knight takes, and now bishop takes a6. Let's again see both evaluations. It will probably end up in a draw. White can hold this, but okay, it was a good and interesting game so far. Maybe Deep Fritz will still win it. Don't quite know. Knight takes we have, and now bishop takes a6. The knight is on a beautiful square and you can never get rid of it, but there are 2 less pawns available, and the bishop is also very strong. Maybe something like this. Takes and rook here. Bishop moves somewhere, let's say it moves there, and now rook takes here. Threatens that pawn. Maybe something like this, and now if you go passive, then I don't know about this endgame. Here, split pawns, but 4 versus 4 and bishop versus knight, so should be holdable for white, I would say. Okay, this a4 is not that bad. I think it secures a draw. Rook takes and bishop takes here. Okay, we have rook here immediately, but it's basically the same idea. Bishop a6, b5 is now calculated by the sovereign. Pawn here, you cannot really allow this, because now the pawn is probably queening. Maybe not. Maybe not. Is there something you could try and take here to dislocate the rook? But the rook just goes there. But then you cannot take the pawn. So the king, because if you take the pawn right now, rook takes, king takes, and there is a fork. So always keep aware of those kind of tricks. But you can just move the bishop, attack the knight. King here, rook takes, king takes, king here, takes, and this pawn endgame, I don't know, should be equal. Here we have the move a3. Now even king b3 would work. b3, but I see the move king here is calculated. And if pawn there, then king here, followed by bishop there and taking this pawn. So probably you take this, takes. Now you pin the bishop, but c4 and nothing happens here to white. Should be an even position. Let's again see both evaluations after king b1, 8x b2. Yeah, this should be even. Fritz is now on minus 0.92, and the Sovereign is also on plus 0.81. So both engines think they are better still, and I'll be back in a second. King takes b2, probably. Now we don't have the move rook here. The move g5 to cement this knight. Yeah, still very good endgame technique from Fritz, actually from both engines, because Fritz is just putting all of his pawns on dark squares so that the bishop can never attack it. Now we have the move f3, and now the king will join the endgame. This is not possible, not really, because of that. Now you have to defend the bishop, and now this fork will win the rook. So this is not quite possible, sadly for white. But okay, this pawn move has a good purpose. It stops the king from entering. Now this is creating a wall for the king, And this, but still king here would attack this pawn, but then bishop there would defend it. Okay, we don't have this, we have a couple of moves. We have the move g5, and now this move, that move, that move, and that move, followed by that move, that move, and that move. So probably now ace h4 is calculated, or king is in here now. Let's again see both evaluations. Minus 1.94, so Fritz really thinks now it is good. Now minus 381, so Fritz now thinks it's winning. After rook takes, rook takes, pawn takes, king takes. Now 3 versus 3, but this knight is better than this bishop. Fritz thinks, and the evaluation is growing, so probably now it's lost. King c1. I don't really know why both engines play so fast now. Yeah, this passed pawn is just better. Yeah, how to stop it? This pawn is in the way. You have to play bishop here now. No, it doesn't help you, because the knight is covering this square, the pawn is blocking this diagonal, so you kind of have to try to reach it with the king. So let's see. No, not here, probably here. Let's see if you reach the pawn. Yeah, you reach it. No, you don't. You just don't reach it. Okay, so that's why after h4 the bishop went back, but now this pawn is falling. Okay, now everything is falling apart. That move, knight f4 back. Yeah, it's over. It's over. Black will win this game. Let's see if the monarch also, if the sovereign also thinks, yeah, also the sovereign thinks it's lost. h3, just h3 after king here, and the king doesn't reach the pawn. Yeah, you can go here now. Takes, king here, but you lose all of those pawns. So just h2, right? h2. And white has to take it at some point, and then this pawn falls, and then the king will come over and take this pawn, and those two pawns are just winning. So it's over. It's over. Okay, it was a very interesting game. Let's see when the sovereign finally decides to resign. I will close now the analysis board because we don't need it anymore. Knight takes, king takes, and Fritz thinks it's a mate in 17 already. King takes g2 and king f4, as I showed before. Yeah, it's just lost. The pawn endgame is lost for black. Okay, Deep Fritz managed to win this game. Just take the knight, play king f4, and then I will end this game. Two minutes is enough. Mate in 17 is what Deep Fritz 14 says. And now I will end this game because this doesn't make sense anymore. both engines think it's lost for white. So I have a couple of questions to Deep Fritz 14. So let's ask him a couple of questions about this game. Okay, first of all, let's look how long they played theory. This was all given to them. This was the first move calculated. Bishop takes. And now a6 is the first new move. h4 is now recommended by Stockfish 5, Stockfish 7 and Komodo 10.4. So h5 should be a good move there. But we have this bishop move. Now we're back to theory. King b1 wasn't played. g4 instead. Yeah, now it should be kind of equal. Fritz Levin says it's slightly better for white. After queen a5, all engines say queen a5. Now a3. King b1. Let's ask him what about king b1. New variation. What was his idea? Fritz's idea? Rook fc8. And what about knight to d5 now? Queen takes. Knight takes here. Okay, king here. Okay, that's the idea. Now you have to take the queen and then the knight falls. So that's the idea. Okay. So a3 we have. The next move is b5, g4. Knight d4, takes. And yeah, the endgame we really saw. Where was the mistake? This was all kind of normal still. This was not that great. And this h4 was not so good. And this was now the losing move. Yeah. Okay, thanks for watching and see you next time. Ciao.